excited to be here with you today. This is such a special series. I'm honored to be playing for the Dallas Opera. I spent 4 beautiful seasons living in Dallas, and I certainly did leave my heart in Texas. So I'm actually coming to you live from Rochester, New York. It's pretty rainy and cold here, so I'm definitely sort of harnessing the warm Texas energy as I perform for you a program of some of my favorite works. So I'm actually going to start the program with a piece by Handel. So this is something I didn't realize until much later in life, but it turns out that Handel actually wrote a lot of music for the harp. But what's interesting is that it wasn't this kind of harp. The kind of harp we have today is the full-size concert pedal harp. In fact, there are 7 pedals. I'll show you Instagram people here. 7 pedals down here that control the sharps and flats, and that can basically enable us to play in any key, which is huge when we're playing in ensembles. But before that, they didn't have that. They actually had something called the arpa doppia. I have some pictures here. So here you can see this is basically a different kind of harp that is actually triple strung, if you can imagine that. I thought 1 set of strings was enough, but apparently you can have all 3 sets. So this was the harp that Handel wrote for. And he actually always included harp in his operas. He didn't actually write a specific part like they do today. He actually just sort of wrote like an obligato part. And so this was it almost played the role of a harpsichord. So actually 2 summers ago, I play in the Santa Fe Opera in the summer, so I got to play an antique pedal harp, and I got to play in Handel's Alcina opera. So I just adore Handel, and so I'm going to kick us off with a piece by Handel. It's from his oratorio celebrating the feast of Saint Alexander, and it is his concerto in B flat. So I hope you're having a great start to your Sunday, and stay tuned for not only some more beautiful opera favorites, but I'm going to be joined by a very special guest, Florence Wang, at the end of this program for some virtual chamber music. So stay tuned. And here is the Handel Concerto in B flat. For any of you just joining us, hello, good afternoon. I'm Grace Browning, coming to you from New York. I spent 4 beautiful seasons playing for the Dallas Opera, so I want to give them a huge thank you for reaching out to me for this recital. And a hello to David Lomelli and our amazing music director, Emmanuel Villon. I miss you so much. So today I'm going to be sharing some of my opera favorites. And actually next up is a piece by a harpist composer named Elias Parrish Alvars. He was known as the Liszt of the harp. He was a true virtuoso, and he, as such, he really mastered the new pedal harp and was one of the first harpists to really show everything that the contemporary harp can do. And so he toured all over the world, and he was actually the first harpist ever in the Vienna Opera. So that's pretty cool. In fact, I have a picture of him. And fun fact, so his name was originally just a very simple Eli Parrish, and he was a self-made man, and eventually he actually he became very famous, and he toured all over the world, and he was actually quite a cutie. Here's his picture. That's Eli Parrish. Look at him. And it's so sad. So apparently he only lived until the age of 40. There were some riots that broke out in Vienna, and he got pneumonia, and he passed away. But this was after, thankfully, he left us with some really incredible music. And I love it because, again, as an opera harpist, you can tell that he has such a voice in his head, and his writing is so lyrical. Hey, Florence. It's truly virtuosic music, and it has a lot of soul. So next up, I'm going to perform for you his Introduction, Cadenza, and Rondo. So please enjoy. Viom! So good to see everyone here. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Sunday recital featuring musicians of the current and former Dallas Opera Orchestra. It's been such a joy to revisit some of my favorite opera-inspired music. Hello, Maestro. And by the way, I would love to hear from you. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to type them in. I have a friend on the other line who's sort of taking notes for me so I can make sure I get back to everyone. By the way, if you're just tuning in, do stay on. We have a very special guest coming on after this next piece for a little virtual chamber music. I'm so excited. But in the meantime, I wanted to jump into introducing the next piece, which is a fantasy based on themes from Eugene Onegin. Who loves Eugene Onegin? I do. Obviously, Tchaikovsky is such a brilliant composer. He did write a lot for the harp. Of course, we have, Tchaikovsky's amazing Nutcracker Cadenza. He wrote a lot for us in the ballets, and thankfully some in the opera. And there is actually a really beautiful part in Eugene Onegin, which was one of the first operas that I got to play in Dallas. So I actually have here a little picture of, this is a photo from the production that we did. This photo is by the amazing Karen Almond. You can see over there. It was such an incredible production, just so beautiful. And I love showing this picture before I play this piece because it really sets the scene. For those of you who are familiar or who aren't familiar with the story, Eugene or Evgeny Onegin, took me about 4 years to learn how to pronounce that correctly. The story of Evgeny Onegin is a story of love and a story of tragedy. It sort of goes, boy meets girl, girl likes boy, boy isn't interested, then boy comes back like years later and he's like, hey, I'm into you, and she's like, no thanks. Then there's a duel and it doesn't end well. But in the meantime, what you'll hear in this music, you definitely have some of those tragic sort of descending chromatic themes. Sounds so very Russian. And then at the same time, you have these beautiful love themes. And of course, you have the fantastic waltz, because there is a whole lot of dancing that goes on in this. And maybe that's the most important part, right? So I hope you enjoy this fantasy. I want to mention, so this fantasy was actually composed by a female harpist composer named Ekaterina Walter Küne. And this is pretty amazing because she wrote this in the 1800s, and there were not many female composers then. And not only that, but she was also the first female concerto soloist to ever perform the harp in a serious performance in the entire country of Russia. So Ekaterina, well done. You will definitely hear her virtuosity in this piece, in this arrangement of themes on Eugene Onegin. So please enjoy. fun fantasy, isn't it? Oh my gosh, it's so much fun to play. And again, very, very happy memories from playing it with the amazing Dallas Opera in 2016, I think. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. We are now going to invite a special guest here on Facebook. So for you friends here on Instagram, we ask you, head on over to the Facebook page so you can hear this chamber music performance of myself and our first violinist from the Dallas Opera Orchestra, Florence Conrad Wang. So we'll see you there. Thank you, Instagram. And okay, and now for Facebook friends, I'm gonna bring in Florence here. So this is sort of a very fun experiment. Hi, Florence. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Hi, Grace. I can't really see you, but I guess I can hear a little bit.
I know, this is amazing. Okay, so basically what we have done here is we have created a really sort of unique virtual platform here. So it's basically going to be a one-way chamber music performance. So our darling Florence is going to put me on mute, and she is going to play the beautiful solo from Thais' Meditation. Florence, we got to play this together in Santa Fe, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yes. And I've known Florence for, well, basically she was one of my first friends when I moved to Dallas like 5 years ago. So special. And, you know, and so we're just so excited to be able to share this with you guys. A huge thank you, Florence, for helping us work out all these technical specialties so we can be here. This Thais meditation is just such an incredible piece. Basically, it's at this point in the story where Thais is sort of just looking in the mirror, and she's just, you know, thinking about life, thinking about her past, thinking about her future. And I feel like this is a meditation that, you know, we can all sort of relate to in this very interesting time. And so we're just so delighted to be able to share this with you from our hearts to yours. And Florence, thank you so much for being here. So I guess I need to
Thank
mute.
you for having me.
Yeah, it's so special. So let's see. I guess I need to mute myself. Is that right? Do I need to mute myself?
Right.
How do we do that? Oh, I know. Here we go. I do this. Okay, great. And for any friends out
Here we
there.
go.
Okay, great. Here we go. Florence. That was so beautiful.
Yay!
It
Did I
worked.
work?
It worked. I think it
Okay.
worked. Yes. And friends, for friends watching on Facebook, if you guys have any questions for me or for Florence, we'd love to chat with you a little bit here while we have you. It's just been such a joy to get to connect with you all. And oh, who do we have there? Is that little Cece baby? I know the nice thing about this quarantine is that our pets are getting a lot of love and a lot of attention, right?
Definitely.
And Florence, I know you've been staying busy down there. You've been doing a lot of virtual teaching, right?
That's right.
And-
And really, I mean, technology is really amazing. I was actually able to host a recital for my student on Friday for 9 of my young students.
That's
and
so sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank goodness for Zoom too. I've done a lot of Zoom masterclasses, and the audio has a little improvement to do, but it's just beautiful that we can connect with people that we wouldn't have been able to before, So, and just like this, and I hope we get to do more of this for sure, because it's just, we miss playing together. So, so for everyone out there watching, we just want to say thank you so much for your support. We love you, and stay safe, stay well, and thank you so much for being here. And if you want to, reach out, you can find me on Instagram at The Graceful Harpist, or you can reach Florence at Florence VLN. Is that right?
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much, and we hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye, Grace.
Bye, darling. See you soon.
Bye.